So good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to welcome you to this EU Sustainable Energy Week presentation, which is entitled Towards 2030, Reshaping the European Energy System. We will have the pleasure to listen to 6 different EU-funded projects, and they will share with us the main points, the relevant points, at least until today. They will still go on. Some programs go on for a longer time. And you will see that they are all looking on how the system can be made smarter, more flexible, but also storage plays an important role in that. And I wanted, before we start, to thank mainly the people who worked strongest on this, which is Pierre-Jacques and also Sven, and obviously Sabrina was also behind the scenes, because they really made it happen, and they pushed to overcome all difficulties. Also this video conferencing software, which Pierre-Jacques was very happy to fight with. So welcome to this session. I will now, so my name is Patrick Clarence, I'm from EUSEW, and I will now hand over to the introduction, or to the first block, which will be shared by Sven. After these 3 first presentations, we have a small Q&A, then another 3 presentations, and then we go to the panel discussion and to open Q&A. Oh, thank you very much for showing this, so you can see how we are set up for today, over the day. And with this, I wanted to hand over to Sven. Please, Sven, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. Also, as I said, my name is Sven Tischer. I work for E.ON, but also in the IElectrix project as technical director, and I'm going to be moderating the first sessions of presentation of the projects today. As you can see, we split it a bit. So you will hear 3 short presentations of 3 of the projects. Then we'll have a short Q&A session. So if you have questions for the first 3 projects while you hear them, just put them in the question chat there, and then we pick them up, and then you hear the next 3 presentations for the next 3 projects, and we will have another quick Q&A session for the third 3, and then we will have, with all the projects, and then moderated by Patrick, again, a panel discussion where you can then also post obviously more general questions or questions here for all of the projects. And with this, and then also with no further ado, we start with the first block. And I would ask Katarina from MERLON to start. And you should also now have control if you want to go further.
Thank you very much, Sven. Thank you, everybody, for the organization and for giving us the opportunity to be here, start the discussion and present the MERLON project. So actually, I think that I cannot change the slides and take the control, so perhaps, yes. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm Katerina Valalaki, I represent MERLON project, and I'm going to provide a very brief overview of what is MERLON about and what technologies and use cases we explore within the project. So MERLON means Integrated Modular Energy System and Local Energy Flexibility Trading for Neural Energy Islands. Our consortium is composed of a number of partners spread around the EU. The project has a duration of 3 years. We have 2 pilot demonstration sites in Spain, one in Spain and one in Austria, while MERLON highly promotes synergies and collaboration with a number of initiatives like the Bridge Initiative, the Clean Energy for EU Islands, while it fosters EU-India collaboration. As in the consortium, we also have an advisory board and Zen that help us actually to make an analysis on the replication possibilities of MERLON in the India energy market. So if we go to the next slide. So Yes, thank you. As mentioned before, in MERLON we have two pilot sites, two local energy communities that are also distribution network operators. In Spain we have Enercup in the Crevillent site, and in Austria we have Energy Gussing in the area of Strem. Both are local energy communities that can manage a local energy distribution energy system. Next slide, please. So MERLON has developed a complete integrated solution targeting specific use cases. The MERLON solution is built on a multi-level optimization approach, starting from individual buildings where an optimization is performed for coordinating the assets within the building. Then we go to the level of the aggregator. We have there an optimization of the complete portfolio of an aggregator, and we reach up to the distribution grid level, where the solution is able to optimally coordinate all the distributed energy resources and the battery energy storage system installed at the distribution grid level. The complete solution, the complete MERLON solution, has been structured in order to be able to support specific business cases. As for example, the local distribution network management, supporting economic operation and development of local distribution network by, for example, limiting power flows and mitigating thermal and voltage constraints. Another use case explored within MERLON has to do with the provision of security of supply in order to minimize required shedding and inconvenience costs in cases of emergency conditions. MERLON also use the integrated solution in order to provide balancing and ancillary services and enable the participation in energy trading. Considering that we have limited time, I have thought to focus only on one use case in order to present you the basic outcomes, lessons learned, and results from our work within MERLON. So let's focus on the local distribution network management. If we go to the next slide, please, we can see the next slide. Perfect, thank you. We can see the overall barriers that we have identified for this use case implementation. The barriers that apply to both pilot site are the lack of comprehensive definition of local energy system and local energy communities and DSO standards, the inefficient regulation around the export of local generation, and the non-cost reflective distribution network charges. If we go the analysis at the specific pilot case, we can highlight the strengths and weaknesses identified in the two pilot sites. In the Spanish case, indeed, we have the strength that DSO is allowed to operate generation and storage, where there is a pilot established by a cooperative community that includes both prosumers and the local DSO. Among the weaknesses, we have identified that the distribution network charges does not involve dynamic prices or special charges for generation. In the Austrian case, unfortunately, energy communities are not yet included in legislative framework. However, a law is about to form in order to support this. While in the strengths, we can mention that the DSO allows and is allowed and is willing to rely on distributed energy resources for network management, and the distribution network charges include the capacity and volumetric component, where there is also some dynamic pricing. Next slide, please. In any case, we should mention that in both cases there is a good applicability for this business case. So let's have a look on the demonstration results that we have in the Austrian pilot site. In your left, you can see the results of a flexibility forecasting algorithm that has been developed within MERLON, and it is based on a scalable methodology and machine learning techniques. As you can see, with the usage of MERLON solution, we can achieve a very good short-term forecasting with a very good root mean square error, as well as a nice, let's say, result for the forecast of medium-term horizons. On the other hand, in your right, you can see the result from MERLON using optimal scheduling flexibility scheduling solution. This solution actually can coordinate multiple flexibility sources and provide a specific schedule for their operation. It identifies globally optimal solutions with low computational time, thanks to state-of-the-art techniques that has been used for its implementation. As you can see, before the implementation of the optimal scheduling, some buses within the network exceeded voltage allowed voltage limits, while we were able to manage this and limitate this voltage constraint through the operation of this optimal scheduling algorithmic framework. Next slide, please. And before concluding, just some learnings that we would like to share with you. We made a specific analysis using data coming from the period of lockdown. As you can see, indeed lockdown was a challenge for us because initially the different models were trained in a pre-lockdown period, and the forecast was quite good. While then, when lockdown came and the behavior of the usage of the different distribution energy resources changed, the algorithmic framework was not able to capture the different usage profiles found during the lockdown period. This, however, was finally tuned by incorporating in the learning process also data of the lockdown. So that's all from my side, and if you go to the next slide, you can see all the communication and social media channels if you want to reach us and learn more about the MERLON project and its achievements. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Katarina. And I would now hand over to Paula from the FLEXnCONFU project.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation to present the FLEXnCONFU. I work in BPA, a leading company in the energy sector that produces, distributes, and supplies energy. In the FLEXnCONFU, I'm the project manager from EDP side, being the EDP, the demo site owner responsible for the implementation of the power to hydrogen to power demonstrator at Ribatejo combined cycle power plant. The FLEXnCONFU is a project that aims to respond to today's challenges for fossil fuel power plants, which have to, in our days, shift the role from providing baseload power to providing fluctuating backup power. Next slide, please. Well, CCGT plants has an important role and will be for the next year the best flexibility sources for compensating the intermittency of renewables. The injection alternative fuels such hydrogen or ammonia will help the energy transition. The FLEXnCONFU can answer to this challenge. The project offers an innovative solution to increase the flexibility and to decarbonize conventional natural gas combined cycle power plants by integrating a power to X to power process. The project includes power conversion, energy storage, and reconversion. The concept is used to convert the surplus power from natural gas combined cycle into hydrogen or ammonia to be further stored until the energy carrier will be injected together with natural gas in the gas turbine process to generate electricity when the market requires it. The project developed within H2020 Research and Innovation Program with a budget of 12.6 million, 70% granted. The project lasts 48 months, so we have started on 1st of April 2020, so we are in the first 18 months, and the project will end at March 2024, and the last year will be entirely dedicated to the demonstration. The consortium will be made up to 21 partner organizations from 10 countries, involving 10 top-level universities and polytechnic institutions, 7 large companies and 3 small and medium ones, and 1 association. Its 4 main pillars are the first one, the combustion testing, and where all the studies of several blendings with the different percentage of hydrogen and ammonia content in the natural gas will be carried out at Combustion Lab of Cardiff University. Additional also a redesign of a micro gas turbine combustion chamber to burn 100% ammonia will be developed. The second pillar is regarding the demonstrators, the power to hydrogen and power to ammonia. That I'll show you in the next slides. The third pillar regards the efficient integration and development of power to X components via grid-oriented advanced control systems, so dynamic models for the main components will be developed using the reduced order models. And the last pillar is focused on the promotion of the hydrogen and ammonia as an energy vector. So beyond the main objective of developing the solutions for power to X power integrated in combined cycles, the project is also intended to study other uses such industrial use, mobility, heavy use trucks, and the possible injection into natural gas pipelines. So this type of solutions also addressed and studied. So the main FLEXnCONFU technical impacts are the reduction the minimum load, increase the efficiency of the CC plants, increase the equivalent operating hours, quicker ramps and up and down, and reduction of natural gas consumption and related CO2 emissions. Next slide, please. So this is the case 1, the power to hydrogen to power demonstration. So the system will be demonstrated at in a real operational environmental at the Ribatejo power plant, which is a combined cycle plant located at northeast of Lisbon in Portugal. The plant comprises 3 similar and independent units, each one of 392 megawatts, burning natural gas. And these power plants started operations since 2004. So the power to hydrogen to power demo plant consists of 1.44 megawatt fast cycle electrolyzer, a PEM type, gas compressor and pressurized hydrogen storage. The electrolyzer produces of about 256 normal cubic meter per hour at 30 bars of hydrogen, and with a purity of 99.9998%. So the hydrogen is then compressed and stored at 200 bars, and we are going to store 400 kilos of hydrogen pressurized in a tube trailer vessels. All the BOP and control systems are deeply analyzed for full integration into Ribatejo power plant. Here we have to 1% of hydrogen will be injected due to the limitation of our gas turbine, which is Siemens SGT5 4000F. And the demo plant will be used to test the concept in a real combined cycle power plant, explore the energy storage concept through the hydrogen as a carrier, evaluate the gas turbine compatibility with other fuels, test several loads and power ramps to characterize the power to hydrogen to power plant limits, and to get operational parameters like efficiency, load variation, and extrapolate the results for higher H2 percentage injection. So the goal is to operate the demonstrator for 1,000 hours connected with the combined cycle. Next slide, please. So here at the Savona Lab, we have the second demonstrator. We are going to, the objective is to develop a power to ammonia solution, which will be demonstrated up to technology readiness of level 6. The concept is the same. The power to ammonia to power system is a process in which the surplus electrical energy produced by the power plant or the renewable generated is converted into ammonia to be easily stored and transported. Then the ammonia can be used as alternative fuel at a lower carbon footprint in the gas turbine or combustion engine. Here, a modular and containerized solution will be connected to the micro gas turbine, installed within a smart grid properly modified for ammonia combustion. The main components of this process are the 15 kilowatt electrolyzer unit for the hydrogen production. The nitrogen unit here, we use a bottle, the lab scale, but in real a pressure separated air unit, which will be the easiest way. The compressor and electrical heater to increase respectively the hydrogen pressure up to 75 bar and the temperature of 300 degrees C, which is the conditions for operating the reactor. The ammonia synthesis unit, this is occurs in a catalytic plug flow reactor. And the ammonia storage, so 7 kilos at 20 bar will be stored. And the injection into micro gas turbine will be properly modified to burn ammonia. A NOx analyzer will be installed to measure the NOx gas emissions here. So the plant will be tested and analyzed at several loads and the power ramps by Savona University, with testing the protocols based on industrial experience, with the aim of characterizing all the operational envelope and understanding the plant limits. The flexibility of the power ammonia system will be stressed, and the important parameters like also overall efficiency and load variation times will be collected. So the last slide, please. So here, so the first lessons learned for implementation of these demonstrated. So deployment these power to X to power solutions in combined cycle power plants requires an assessment of all elements that are critical for the project development, such as the space availability, the BOP integration, the ability of the gas turbines to burn fuels with higher content of hydrogen or ammonia, for higher percentage of hydrogen in the fuel, an upgrade of the gas turbines shall be required, and of course the safety. So standards and regulations shall be assessed to identify and gather all the requirements to be fulfilled. Codes and standards are essential to ensure the safety handling of hydrogen and ammonia, and it's very important to bring uniformity among the countries. So for this, of course, to implement these projects, all the ACTEC studies, risk assessment and ASOPS analysis are mandatory. The regulatory framework and licenses reveals very challenging, and these the foremost importance are the legal and regulatory measures that provide a solid and reliable backbone to sustain and promote the hydrogen takeoff. So power to hydrogen to power and power to ammonia to power alternatives were also investigated, comparing the process in terms of round-trip efficiency, the storage energy density, and the plant footprint. In terms of efficiency, power to hydrogen to power resulted in 30% at the end compared to the 23.9% at the end, assuming that the hydrogen and the ammonia does not affect the performance, the energy performance. These calculations were based on a 100 megawatt plant and considering the information getting from Privatej power plant. Hydrogen storage raised significant challenges. Gases, hydrogen storage in tanks, cylinders needs high pressure compression, penalizing the overall costs. Moreover, hydrogen is due to its explosive nature combined with fast reactivity, have always been a problem to developers to obtain large energy quantities. Ammonia is easily stored, and due to higher density, allows storage high amounts of energy content by volume, and consequently lower volume occupied are necessary. So the cons is the efficiency loss to convert the hydrogen to ammonia. In terms of footprint, the power to ammonia plant, despite the presence of the synthesis unit, was found to slightly effective than the power to H plant, is essentially due to area need for the storage, the same storage capacity. So summing up, the power to hydrogen to power and power to ammonia to power has potential to improve the power plant flexibility by storing the electrical energy into a chemical that in turn can be used as fuel at a lower environmental impact. But the optimal size of the systems needs to be evaluated in reference to the specific energy market and the economic scenarios in which the power plant operates. So the next slide. So I would like to thank you. So if you want to reach and to know more about the project, please, we are available in the website and Twitter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paula. And I would hand over now to Pierre-Jacques to present IElectrix, which is the last presentation for the first block. And again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat.
Good afternoon, everybody. So now I take the floor. Okay, so I will present IElectrix. Let's go to the next slides. Okay, it's going to. There is a delay between. Okay, so in a short, the project IElectrix is a H2020 project. It's a project started on May 2019, finishing at the end of October 2022. There are two major, we can say, objectives for this project. The first one is to accelerate the integration of renewable energy sources into the distribution networks in region where this networks needs to be reinforced, what we call the energy island, and also to prepare and facilitate the implementation of local energy communities. So we have developed and implemented 5 demonstrations. All these demonstrations are piloted by DSOs, local DSOs. So there are 4 demonstrations in Europe, 1 in Germany, one in Austria and two in Hungary. And the last one is in India, in Delhi. So we are a consortium of 15 European partners and one Indian partner. We have developed innovative solution in order to meet, our objectives. So the solution will be based on the battery energy storage system, automation of grid. We have also implemented different demand response scheme or demand side management program. And for India, we have developed urban microgrid. So I go to the next slide. So here I have listed the technical use cases that we will experiment. You can see in the different demonstration. The first one is linked to the congestion and voltage management. It concerns all the demonstration. The second one is linked to demand response. We have implemented a dedicated demand response scheme for Austrian and Indian demonstration. For Hungary, it's what we call a demand response redispatch. In fact, it will be direct load control solution implemented. And in Germany, there is also a use case linked to the network stability through resilience. The same also apply for Indian demonstration. All these demonstration, of course, takes place in a different regulation on ecosystems. In Germany, the idea is to postpone network reinforcement in order to integrate more renewable generation. In this demonstration, there are already a massive implementation of wind farms, and it's so important that from time to time it's mandatory to cut the generation, because the network is not strong enough to evacuate all this energy. In Austria, we have existing energy community in the network, despite that it's not inside yet the legal framework according to the national rule, but it will come. In Hungary, it is a place where there are also massive implementation of PV farms, and these PV farms create peak loads during summer, and also they face voltage excursions due to this massive renewable generation. So with these demonstrations, we target to solve this voltage excursions and reduce also the peak load. And last but not least, in India, it's in an urban area because it is located in Delhi. And over there, we expect a large amount of PV connected to the LV network. And the demonstration is located in a high school in Delhi, where there are already a certain amount of PV installed, and they face some voltage excursion also, and problem with the resilience of the network. And this large amount of PV will increase in the coming years. Next slide. So here you can see some picture of the demonstration. Yes, it's not coming. Can you? Yeah, please. It's not stable. So okay. So I can tell you that out of the 5 demonstrations, 3 European demonstrations are already in operation. The one in Germany, you can see the capacity of this battery energy storage system is located in the northeast of Germany. In Hungary, there are 2 demonstrations. The 2 are also in operation. And in Austria, it's not yet, so the picture is not a real one, but 500 kilowatt will be implemented in this location very soon. And in India, It's a smaller battery because it's only 200 kilowatts, but it is located, as I mentioned before, in a high school. So you can see here the different, picture of the battery. The first results are coming very soon. We have some already in Hungary, and the situation it's better, of course, with this solution. But still, there are many use cases again to be tested. So we are just at the beginning of to show the results. And for India and Austria, these two demonstrations will be operational before the end of this year. So next slide. So some key learnings so far. So we can say that we can face a lack of standardization for grid connection of such battery energy storage. There is no plug-and-play solution so far. Many member states have not yet defined the regulatory frameworks in order to operate such storage systems. So things are not crystal clear again. We have faced also some issue with the protection settings of the battery. Some of them are not really good when we use in the microgrid operating conditions, especially in islanding mode. And we can say also that it was the first H2020 project implemented a real battery energy storage in India. And we face an issue. We face that the import cost is very high in India. So if we want to export equipment from Europe, we face this problem, and it can be, of course, a barrier if you want to make business over there. So I will be short because I know that we are running short of time, but you can see in the last slide the different contact. If you want to learn more about our project, you can go to our website and discover more about this IElectrix project. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Pierre-Jacques. I am just looking, so we would now move on to the first Q&A session for the different projects. And the first question I have would be to Katharina from MERLON. And the question would be, what do you say would be the major benefits of grid-scale battery systems for your demos?
So thank you very much for the question and the nice presentations so far. So indeed, the battery energy storage system that has been purchased, installed, commissioned, and demonstrated in the two pilot sites in MERLON can improve, first of all, the reliability and the resilience of the local distribution grid. Just to mention that the battery energy storage system deployed in the pilot site have grid forming capabilities, allowing for an islanded operation. Thus, the battery energy storage system can support and minimize disturbance costs, inconvenience costs due to in cases where we have emergency condition, let's say. So this way the battery energy storage system can improve the reliability and the resilience of the local distribution grid, while allows also for a more flexibility to be valorized and integrate a number of diverse resources. In MERLON, we have different renewable energy sources integrated, and managed by the holistic framework provided, like large-scale PVs as well as PVs at rooftops of residential and commercial buildings. We have integrated buildings, CHB, found in specifically in the Austrian pilot site, and EV charging points. So the battery energy storage system can provide and support the optimal cooperation of the different diverse resources and support the overall operation of the local distribution grid. Needless to say that through this, let's say, optimal operation, battery energy storage system can, of course, reduce environmental impacts like greenhouse gas emissions and so on. So these are among the major benefits of a grid-scale battery energy storage system.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I see there's no further question at the moment. And also due to time, because we are a bit over, I would move straightly to the second presentation block. Would ask the speaker, so it's now MUSE Grid, Robinson and Compile. Would ask the speeches to aim to stick to their presentation limits, that we don't take too much of the overtime through with us. And then would like to hand over to Alessandra from MUSE Grids.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon actually, everybody, and I'm happy to present the MUSE Grid project today. I'm Alessandra Cugno, the project technical coordinator of MUSE Grid, and come from Reno Consulting, which is one of the biggest engineering consultancy company in Italy. So move to the next slide, please. Okay, so MUSE Grid in a nutshell. So MUSE Grid is a project started in 2018. It's a 4-year project and have the aim to demonstrate in 2 main demo sites, one in Italy, which is the city of Osmo, and a rural area in Houdeverly, which is close to Brussels. How different technological and non-technological solutions could facilitate the local energy independency via the promotion of smart energy system. So the idea is to enhance and create synergies among the different energy networks present in the demo. And I'm talking about the electricity network, the heating network, the gas network, and the water network, and try to increase the self-dependency of the demo and reducing the, let's say, the electricity connection with the national grid. The project is now in the phase of the demonstration campaign, which will start actually next month. So all the technology, all the flexibility technology have been already installed in the demo, and the 2 tools that will facilitate, from one point of view, the control of the different assets, and from the other point of view, the planning of future energy, multi-energy system, have been already developed, modeled, and let's say deployed at the demo level. So we have a multi-energy demand side management tool, which will interact with the local assets in order to control the different flexibility assets. And we are talking about different kind of storages, EV, CHP plants, battery, and so on, in an optimal way, simulating and emulating different demand side strategies. And of course, all these technical activities are supported by the transversal activities and specifically related to the user engagement, which is an important topic, an important aspect of the project, because the aim at the end is to create 2 different energy community in the 2 inspiring demo sites. If you can go to the next slide, I will focus a little bit more on the 2 use cases. So the first one is the Osimo demo, which is a municipal microgrid in an historical town on top of the hill in the center of Italy, Here we have a huge presence of PV, a smart water pumping system, and a district heating network. And the problem here is that there is just one point of connection with the national grid. So we have a very huge variance in the net load exchange with the national grid. In such a demo, we would highlight to demonstrate the interaction of different energy networks. We installed an electrical energy storage in one of the pumping stations, a thermal energy storage connected to the CHP in order to, let's say, allow a longer operation of the CHP plant, and a different power to heat solution in some buildings of the city, of the municipality. And from a simulation point of view, because we just finalized the simulation activities and we are starting now with the deployment on the field, we evaluate that the different demand side management strategy and the use of the different storages from the electric energy storage in the pumping station, the thermal energy storage and the power to heat help to increase the self-consumption of the grid, but of course having a better management of the different assets in order to, let's say, using better the renewable electricity produced locally and specifically to the CHP plant to reduce the fuel consumption of the plant. The second use case, if you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, sorry, there was an animation, is a rural area in Belgium. It's the town of Houdeverly, with a residential demo equipped with different renewable energy generation. Here, a local energy community is already ongoing, and it's a rural street at the end of the local distribution. So there are a lot of problems on voltage, on the power quality of the grid, on blackouts and phase disbalances. Here, where the aim was to acting at the demo as a real energy island, so try to become autonomous and independent in a weak connection situation. And in particular, we installed a neighbor battery, a different power to each solution, and a vehicle to grid charger. So the main goal was to quantify and demonstrate the impact of the demand side management on the voltage of the streets. And we see that from simulation level, both in a clouded day and sunny day, the battery improves the power quality and is needed to keep the voltage within the acceptable limits. And we were aimed to increase the out consumption at demo level. So try to summarize the activities performed so far, the main key learnings or lesson learned of the project. If you can switch to the last slide, please. The key learning of the project was related, first of all, to the complicated interaction and the interdependency between the different energy supply network. So integrating multi-energy supply network would result in a more complex energy system, not only to be planned, but specifically to be managed and operate, also considering interoperability solution and protocols, communication protocols to be used. And specifically, some regulation aspects were difficult to be approached related to the vehicle to grid and available standards in Europe, which is an ongoing discussion. And it's really, really important to keep some form of data uniformity between the different systems in order to facilitate the integration of demand-side control that are able to address and control different energy network. And finally, the key learnings were related to the user engagement. So first of all, if we are able to trigger the people interested, they are really willing to learn, but it's important that there is a continuous process, so not a spot engagement, time by time, and specifically the remote monitoring and the control of the assets it's great important, but of course need to not disturb the residents of the different hubs where the assets are installed. So thank you for the attention. In the last slide, you have all the contacts related to me as project coordinator, but you can follow MUSE Quiz on our social media and websites. You can find additional details and results of the project, so on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandra. Also for the good timekeeping, and I would pass on now to Peter from Robinson. Peter, if you want, you can have control to click, or you just let me know.
Where can I don't see a button where I can...
Just on the slide, and there's a small delay, but it works.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Good. My name is Peter Breuers. I'm working at NORS, which is a research institute in Norway. And my role within the project is actually that I'm the scientific coordinator. The Robinson project itself, it started more or less now 1 year ago with 18 partners from 10 different European countries, and it's going to be a 4 years project. What we are going to do is we are going to develop and demonstrate integrated energy system, which is integrating all the different energy vectors, which is using then locally available renewable energy sources. We are developing and adjusting some technologies, and that's going to be demonstrated then at one island, which is actually in Norway on Eigerøy. We also have within the project 2 follower islands. Now the next one. Okay, so what we are going to do is to convert the energy system, which you see on the right side, which is currently based on electricity delivered from the mainland, fuel which is imported, and also LNG, into a system which is quite integrated. That's the one on the right side. We are still connected to the main grid, but we are going to install a wind turbine. We are going to install electrolyzer for producing hydrogen. We are going to install an anaerobic digestion process to produce biomethane, as well as a gasifier which is producing syngas. The gases are then going to be used in a local CHP, which is providing electricity to the grid and industry, as well as also steam. The demonstrator is not covering the whole energy demand of the island. That is because of also budget constraints. But it's going to be installed at one of the industrial partners, which is Prima Protein, which is actually the highest and the only consumer on that island of LNG. One of the challenges we have is the strong seasonal dependence of the energy demand. The seasonal one you see on the left graph, plus also in combination with that a kind of relatively high daily variation of the energy demand for electricity, which is the blue line, and no, that's wrong. On the right side, it's the brown one, which is the electricity, and the blue one, which is the steam demand, which they have on site. It's made actually dimensionless to somehow fit the scales, because otherwise they would be very different, as one sees on the left graph. Electricity is in our energy system going to be covered via, of course, again, the existing grid to the mainland. Then we are going to integrate some small scale PV, which is already existing there, and a novel twin rotor 100 kilowatt electrical wind turbine. 100 kilowatt is actually chosen because of the acceptance of such an installation. If it would be a big one of some megawatt, it had been a kind of several years approach in order to get it accepted. We are also installing then the units for sustainable fuel production. Those are the hydrogen production for power generation and transport purposes. That actually has the fastest reaction to any changes in the boundary conditions. We are also installing the syngas production based on gasifying waste wood, which is available at the harbor area. That has a significantly lower flexibility of the process. And last but not least, the biomethane production based on anaerobic digestion, assisted by a bioelectric chemical system. That one is more or less a kind of continuously operating unit. So it means that we have to match the fluctuating energy demand, which is there on the top, with these different kind of scales of energy sources. The core element, which is the local CHP, is going to be an Aurelia A400 gas turbine, micro gas turbine, which produces 400 kilowatt electricity and about 500 kilowatt thermal energy. The speciality of that one is actually that it covers a very wide range of fuel and fuel mixtures without any kind of need to adjust the combustor or the fuel supply system. So it's going to cover then everything from syngas, biomethane, up to LNG with some hydrogen mixtures also. The CHP actually will, as described earlier, provide electricity to the process of Prima Protein, as well as also heat in order to support the steam generation at Prima Protein. For the time being, because the project is now in operation for 1 year, we are still in the kind of a layout phase and phase of adapting and adjusting existing technologies, like for example the CHP and the AD-BESS unit. The main challenges are actually to balance the energy demand changes with the availability of fuel and electricity. So what we have to ensure in our dimensioning of also the local installed gas storage is that we have always the necessary fuel and fuel mixtures available which fit to the specification of the CHP. On top of it, when dimensioning the system, we have to consider the fuel and feedstock availability and the costs, penalties for emissions, economic restrictions for feeding energy into the grids, and of course also long-term changes. The key learnings, even though we are now operational for 1 year only, are that for sure we have to make sure that the energy system design and layout needs to consider the whole energy system, which means when are the primary energy sources available, what are the existing demand profiles, what are the different time characteristics, and therefore also what are the characteristics and inertias of all the components which are involved into the energy system. We also noticed the impact of rules and regulations. They really impact the possibility of energy efficiency improvement because of some limitations in terms of exchanging energy between neighbors and so on. Then the level of component integration and the economic viability of the measures to really reduce the emissions. All of those three topics are actually closely connected. What we also noticed in advance to the project was already that the interest of single potential stakeholders in the area somehow limit the possibilities to harvest the full potential of energy efficiency improvement for the integrated energy system. And if you want to get more information, that are actually the main sources for contacts, plus of course that you could then get in direct contact with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter. And I would then hand over to Andrew for our final or famous words last but not least presentation of today, and also for you, if you like, you can click through yourselves through the presentation. Over to you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Sven. So, good afternoon also from myself. I'm the coordinator of the Compile project, Andrei Gubina, and I'm associate professor at the University of Ljubljana. I'm leading the consortium of the 13 partners from plus 2 international partners of a project, of a 4-year-long project. And we have the pilot sites to the tune of 6.4 million euros. So what we want to do in the project is to see how the community power, so energy communities, can help with energy island operation. And we have developed technical and social tools or creation tools for the energy communities to run and thrive. So we have designed the grid operation tool, the home energy management system, the tool to operate electric vehicle charging, digital platform for virtual energy communities, and 2 creation tools for analyze the value for business models that various operation settings could use, and have the tool set for community management. So with that said, see, it's going to continue. Yes. So we have our pilot locations are structured alongside of the organizational maturity from very early to mature one, and from small to large one. And today we're going to focus on the Slovenian pilot site, which is also supplier driven. So then we have cooperatives, and we have also DSO driven energy community. So, sorry, coming back. Can we go back one slide, please? Yeah, thank you. So it's an alpine village, this Luce in Slovenia. It has a very long and line to supply, so it's kind of has bad reliability of supply. Security of supply is quite low there, and we have established a REST community there. We wanted to increase the self-sufficiency, control local flexibility, and manage this REST capacity. So we have 9 homes where we implemented the PV plants, EV charging stations, home energy management systems, and home batteries, and also PV charging station and the community battery. So we had to come up with a control system that would manage this community battery and home batteries. This is the home rule that dynamically limits the PV output based on the grid state. So this way we have increased the injection of renewables a lot in the system. So this is our community battery. We have also prepared like a know-how for all the participants in the project. What does it take to install a community battery? And it involves 59 steps, so it's really long and tedious process. And it's the only one in Slovenia that enables islanding operation of energy community. So we installed PVs, we installed home batteries, PV public charging stations, and also we have changed the way the community was supplied, because before the participants had supplied from various transformer stations. Now they're supplied only from one. And so there are some key improvements. So we have better control of low voltage grid, improved voltage profile, security of supply, self-supply. Local generation has increased. This is the green line shows the cumulative for 1 year. So we have increased regeneration by 181%. Here we can see how the battery can shape the load, and we don't so we don't have that much peaks and valleys. And also it enables pooling the consumption of the community and the PV generation, so that some part can be so that lesser part can be charged to a higher tariff, and the lower tariff can be then used for the network charges. Now the key learnings what I wanted to show is that so the current problems, constraints, so our energy community must have the same supplier and have to be connected to the same transformer station and have additional measuring point for the PV plant. The energy division key is static, so it's a problem. And in a multi-apartment building, everybody has to agree, so 75 or even 100% to installation of a PV plant on the roof. So that's a drawback. So the new law that's coming in, for example, in Slovenia, that would then also impact LUCE. So we will abolish the annual net metering. So the self-sufficient consumers won't have to pay the contributions, and they will still need to have virtual measurement points. And the producers will receive paid surplus energy injected into the grid. So that's good things. It's all in line with the clean energy package. But for the first time, we'll have the possibility to include the devices that were once under feed-in tariff support scheme, to include them into the energy communities. This was prohibited before. And we'll also be able to restrict the energy community members so they won't be, right now they're restricted to one transformer station. Now they could do it from various, and this can be a problem. So additional challenges, the community self-supply is still more complex than individual self-supply. And for example, multi-apartment buildings require 3 times more documentation, but we have shown that the communities, energy communities, are the way to interest the consumers to really support this transition and to invest into technology, so to stimulate the consumer investments here, and to be more attuned toward acceptance of the control of various activities. So ultimately, I would like to welcome you to the Compile project website and invite you to learn more about our project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andre. Then looking to going to the Q&A session for the second block. One of the questions would be to Alessandra, also with the ask maybe for a short answer, would be how storages could enhance the creation of energy communities.
Okay, thank you. Yes, for sure, let's say the deployment of energy storage at grid level and municipality level could enhance and help the spread of energy community, which at the end we are always focused mainly on the electricity sector and energy community related to the electricity network. However, as we have seen also from the experience of MUSE grids, energy community could be, let's say, created among and considering a very deep sector integration sector coupling approach, and for that the energy will be the energy storage will be a fundamental technology to be deployed in order to enhance and increase the self-consumption of the energy community.
Okay, thank you very much. I would now also, just in the aim of time, because we're still a bit overshooting, hand over to Patrick for the panel discussion. For the audience, again, if you have any questions for the panel discussion or anything that haven't been answered so far, feel free to write it in the chat and we'll aim to pick it up. Over to you, Patrick. You're still on mute.
Oh.
Yes,
No?
we can hear you.
Yes.
Very good.
Now I change the microphone to the laptop. Look, okay. Good. So thanks a lot, Sven, for sharing this first session, and I think we learned a lot. There were some points which came always back. I will now use the last 20 minutes we have, or last 15 before we're closing, with questions to the panelists, and I will look at the chat if there are any questions popping up. I don't see any for the moment, but if you have some questions, please don't hesitate to put them in. The first question I have, and I suppose for a lot of them they will come back, we saw that storage is quite a flexibility provider, but also shifting energy to the right moment of use. And we had different barriers that were mentioned there in the different presentations. If you have to pick one barrier, the main barrier for deploying energy storage at the distribution level, which one would it be? What would you call? You can just come up, and I have a specific question for Andre. You mentioned the feed-in tariff and the possibility for feed-in tariff. Could you elaborate a bit? I'm not sure I understood what as feed-in tariff is allowed. Please, so what is the one barrier? And then specifically for Andre, what does it mean? With which extent is this feed-in tariff applied or possible?
So thank you, Patrick, for your question. So first, when I mentioned feed-in tariff, currently it is in Slovenia not possible on our pilot in Luce. It's not possible to have the power plants that were from renewable generation that were built in the past and that were already once supported under feed-in tariff regime. Once the feed-in tariff regime runs out and they run out of this support, they cannot be used in energy communities as community renewable generation. So now the new law that is coming in power, hopefully by the end of the year, this is going to remedy this. And this is going to, again, pose an additional support for the communities. Yes, it's not going to increase the additional installations of renewable generation, but it's going to increase the amount of, let's say, motivation of the consumers to be involved in this. And this is an important step forward.
Motivation through funding. Thank you, Andrew.
It's always good.
So it works, that's the way, yeah, but if there's an advantage, you would do it. And here's a double advantage, good for the environment and good for the participants. Good. But coming back, the one barrier for energy storage to be used at distribution level, what would it be? Come on, shoot, give you something.
Yeah, for sure, it's the unclear regulations, not the regulations, but all the local regulations. So in principle, it's all fine. Yeah, you install the community battery, but then again, there's a question of who's going to pay for the losses, how is going to be connected. We've heard from our colleague from Robinson the protection problems. We've seen also this in previous projects, the connection, the fire safety, it's unclear on the let's say community level, municipality level, then different local administration level, who is in charge and whose permits are required to install something like this. So these are important questions that can block installations. Plus, we've seen also in another project where we installed a battery that there could come malfunctions, and these malfunctions can then also propagate to the rest of the grid. So we installed it at the DSO connection point, and the DSO claims that because of this the transformer was damaged because of some event in the battery. So yeah.
How to prove, how to keep the proving, the funding, the details, the rules, who pays for what. This was the 59 points. This was the 59 points you mentioned before in your guide for.
59 points means first you find place and contract the place where.
So this is on top of your 59 points. You have all these points with it.
These are the blocking issues, and these are the points. These are the steps, actually, 59 steps.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you. I would encourage the other participants who worked in their respective projects also to join this discussion. I'm very happy, Andre, to discuss with you, but I would obviously encourage the others also to join because there are a lot of questions. One question is, do you believe what you experienced in your project and you installed it, and you had some hurdles, does it guide you also to implement the storage in other regions? Will you have the same hurdles? Will they be different? Will everyone have to start from scratch again, or are there lessons learned we can put together in order to have this added to the 59 points Andre mentioned before?
If I can continue, this is so important that we discuss these issues in every country. So we pull them together because also all the other stakeholders, all the other actors are listening. They're listening. They want to know what went wrong and what was good practice, so that they don't repeat the mistakes. For some time in Spain, it was not possible to store energy in batteries except if it was from renewable generation. And this was something we learned not to do in other countries, and also Spain remedied this. But on the other hand, they have some other issues that was very good that we copied or tried to implement also on our side. And for example, also regulatory sandboxes are such a very interesting opportunity where all the regulator allows the DSO or TSO to suspend some of the rules so that the batteries or some, either battery installation or some measures can be put in place that would normally not make sense financially or technically. But we can show that if we relax this rule, then it's possible. And so it helped. So it helped us here also in Luce. This derogation, the regulatory sandbox. This project is part of the sandbox, and we have very good cooperation. A lot of happiness for the DSO that's involved here.
That's positive. Maybe again, I would encourage the others to join or switch on their camera if you want to say something.
Maybe I can contribute. I mean, I'm very much supporting what Andre said, because we have a similar experience here in our project in Robinson, while there is maybe one additional level of complexity because we are trying to integrate on different energy vectors. So we do not focus only on electricity, but also then on heat and on gas. And they all have different then rules and regulations, which make it then at the end of the day quite difficult somehow to get such an integrated system up and running, which might be a little bit of mismatch between what is required in Horizon Europe calls and so on, and what is kind of possible.
Can I understand? Because at the end, as we heard before, it's all about the money, it's all about the incentive, it's all about doing something which makes sense, but also obviously earning the money to cover the costs which you have for this equipment and having an economic interesting proposal. Do you see that the revenue streams, they should come from participation in existing products? Do you miss some products? I mean, we see now frequency containment reserve and other products where you can bid into via aggregation. This was also pushed by the clean energy package. But would you push for new markets for flexibility, local DSO markets for flexibility? And maybe also going further, we're talking about seasonal storage. So should we add something for shifting energy, really energy shifting, which is also a part of storage? I mean, storage can either be very flexible for the short-term flexibility, but storage is also providing a seasonal storage and therefore shifting energy to where it's needed. Would you advocate for specific markets, or are you happy with the existing revenue streams which are there?
Well, if I may say, we've seen this in another project that there is the revenue streams need to be stacked in order to be really sufficient and successful, and not all the sources are scale as when you size up your storage. So that's why they don't scale linearly or this in the same way. So that's why this is important that we look for new ways where the energy can, or this flexibility can be sold, and new ways to form new products. And for this is why it's so important that we look at value for different business models that underpin the services that can be provided with for example, storage. And this is why we have the value tool in Compile project to analyze the value of services that we come up with. And we decompose services into business models and then test them through testing scenarios and based on use cases. And so this is something we also work on in the Bridge project. In the Bridge initiative and the business model working group that I'm a chairman of, together with Alessandra, who is a co-chair. And I'm inviting everybody to join and cooperate in this.
And this work group just started, so it's a moment to join. It is still at the very beginning of the work, so nobody is left behind. Just join and participate.
You're all invited.
Peter, please. You wanted to add something to this? If you are happy with the existing revenue streams, do you want other markets maybe to integrate the different carriers?
Well, what we see actually is that at the moment it's very, very kind of separated. So what we learned is that the net operator cannot, for example, directly talk to those who are the power producers and produce the energy, or that there is then a complete different company involved in selling the energy at the end of the day, and that makes it, of course, quite difficult to have these kind of integrated energy systems, because if there is someone who wants to install his local kind of CHP and wants to, at his industry as we have in our project, he would like to operate it more or less continuously. But if he then runs into some problem in talking to separate companies at the same time, which are absolutely not his kind of core business, it's of course quite difficult and maybe not doable for him. So maybe he will then continue using his LNG instead of going towards renewables, which only makes sense if he has that kind of possibility. But that also boils down then to the topics which Jen and Ray rose about who owns it and who runs that unit.
We have seen now, and everybody talks about it, a huge increase of the gas prices. The Commission reacts to this. This is an impact on the electricity prices, which are increasing. We feel that it is more and more the energy poverty we were trying to fight and alleviate is something which is coming back in earnest. The winter is in front of the door. So we're in a situation where we see that on one side we have a lot of generation capacity installed, renewable generation capacity installed. We see that it is producing a certain percentage, not always, that's clear, but we also see that there are gigawatt hours of electricity curtailed in Europe, gigawatt hours of electricity curtailed. And the projects we are working on, how much, some mentioned it, but would it increase the use of renewables? And can you quantify how much more renewables you could use compared to without this project? Is it 5% or 10%? Or how can we make sure that we stop wasting on one side the gigawatt hours of renewable electricity, on the other side pay gas grants for backup power for peaking plants? So how do we get there? What is needed to do this? Do you have the sector interface, Peter? Do you have a smarter system? Andre, you said you store it now and you increase the use of renewables. Can you quantify this? Do you have any numbers of this or any feeling of this?
Yeah, sure. We, for the time being, we connect actually to the local industry, and we are going to cover now in the beginning actually 15% of their energy needs. But the main motivation behind it are two things. One is the restriction of the budget, of course. That is one thing, but the other thing is also that the end user wants to see if that is if that works, because he doesn't want to have his production now disturbed. So, but we are already in discussions with them about then later on modular extension of the existing system in order to replace all, because I mean he's mainly using LNG, so he's suffering then from the higher energy prices. That is one thing, but also then a very high CO2 tax here in Norway.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that we have shown how batteries can improve the amount of small renewable generation, distributed renewable generation that would normally be curtailed. It was able to integrate it and use it locally through the use of the community battery, and and smart control of the network and of the sources, and that's why I think this is the way to improve the security of supply supply as much as possible locally and have then the cross-sector integration for large, to balance out this for the industry and for the larger exchange among countries.
I mean,
yes,
sorry,
no, I just wanted to add, it is the purpose of the German demonstration in IElectrix. Unfortunately, we haven't yet the figures, I mean, but in this region there is often curtailment of wind farm generation due to the network, and with the battery, of course it will be better, but so far I cannot give you exact figures, but they will come in our project.
Okay.
I mean, what we see in our project, we have actually two things to cover. One is this kind of short-term energy coverage and balancing, and the other one is a seasonal mismatch. And what I then expect is that the future will lie in a kind of combination of different kind of storage technologies. One is of course battery, which I see more in the kind of also grid stabilization and so on. But the other one is also the long-term energy storage, which could be via thermal energy or also via gas.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter. We're almost at the end. I have one question coming to exactly your point, and I don't know if we have Paula who's still online. Paula, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, Paula, I had a question because coming to what Peter said, this longer term storage. So we discussed that it's better to not curtail electricity, and it's better to use it and you produce a fuel out of this. And then you can use it again for the flexibility, to provide flexibility through the gas turbines. What is the round trip efficiency? Because it's always the question when you use electricity to make a gas and to then electricity again. What is the round trip efficiency? And as I said, we know that otherwise it would be probably lost. So it's better than not having it stored. But did you quantify this?
Well, the efficiency is lower. So we quantify, for instance, for a 100 megawatt, with considering because you lose also efficiency when you convert again to electricity in the gas turbine. So the final that we achieved for power to hydrogen was 30%. The total efficiency, the 30%. And for power to ammonia, our calculation gives us to 23.6% of efficiency, global efficiency. So we lose also 57% based on the cycle of Ribatejo, but of course we lose some efficiency here in the process.
Okay,
but so maybe it changes. Sorry, yeah. Maybe it changes if we consider also the heat part, right?
Yes,
because it could be then converted in a CHP, and then of course it significantly improves.
Yes, and also we didn't consider any gains of the efficiency by using the hydrogen, for instance, which can improve the efficiency of burning. Nevertheless, we achieved these values from this preliminary analysis. We are going to enter with this getting some values and to get in our models to see and to achieve the best results.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, that's very kind for this reply. Good. So we see that storage is needed for the flexibility. We see that flexibility can go on all levels, distribution level, but obviously also other levels. We see that we have different energy carriers we want to use, and that we still need to remove the hurdles. We heard different hurdles until now. So the aim now is to finish this project, have the results, share them, and participate in the Bridge Working Group on Business Models, which Andre also invited us to, so that we can have all this together given to the Commission. And with this, I want again to thank the organizers who were there, to the presenters of this project, to the panel discussion we had. It was very helpful, and I'm looking forward to see where we're in 1 year and how this project evolved in 1 year, because they're all not finished. Thank you very much, and have a nice afternoon and a fruitful week in front of you. Thanks to the organizers. Thanks to the speakers.
Thank you all.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sven,
Bye.
Pierre, thank you. Sabrina, obviously,
Thank you,
thank
bye.
you. She was doing all the stuff for me. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.
Okay. Yeah, bye-bye.